Hi, everybody. Welcome to Dive Deep. I'm Shelby Cornett, and I'm the ministry assistant at Cambridge City Christian Church. And this is just my guest.
It's me, your
It's
guest.
Danny. I
Yep.
tried to get him to do the intro today, but he said he's just a guest.
You know, the Bible talks, well, I talked about it on Sunday, about hospitality. You're not treating me very hospitably by just saying, here's my guest.
That's what he said, though. You said it first.
All right, well, I'm just the guest.
He's just the guest.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll do the same intro every week.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, oh well. So, you're alive after the Super Bowl.
I am. I made it. Yep.
They didn't win,
No, they didn't.
but it was a really good game.
It was a good game, yeah, and I'm
It was
proud of them. They played much
Good
better
game
than
to
I
watch.
thought they would. They got a lot further than I thought they would this
Yeah.
year, so can't complain too much.
They made it, so
Yeah, that's right.
that was a big deal.
Yeah, yeah.
And Sunday at church,
Mm-hmm.
we talked about love.
Love.
It was
We've been talking a lot.
Valentine's Day
That's
week.
right. Valentine's Day, yeah.
Yeah,
We won't talk about Valentine's Day. Shelby's not a big Valentine's
not a
Day
fan.
Yeah.
that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
We've had discussion.
We have. But that's for
In the
another
office.
that's for another podcast.
We could do a whole podcast just debating about Valentine's Day,
Yeah.
but we won't.
Okay. Phew. That was
So-
a close one.
But this sermon was about love,
Mm-hmm.
and it was different fervency towards love.
Yeah, that was a new word for you, right?
Yeah,
What you
I
said.
forgot to Google it, so I had to ask Danny right before we started. But I know what it means, like passionately.
Passion and zeal and
Yes.
energy, yeah. Mhm.
And that made stuff make more sense.
Good. Good. Well, that's always good when
Yeah.
a sermon makes sense. Yeah.
And I had some notes. And again, it was one of those sermons where I'm like challenging myself.
Mm-hmm. Good. That's what they're for.
Makes me think.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about like loving unconditionally
Mm-hmm.
can be so hard.
Yeah.
And we talked about grumbling, like you grumble when you have to love people. I am so guilty.
Yeah, show hospitality without grumbling was what Peter said.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm thinking, I love you, but I'm not going to do that. Like, I don't want to do this
Put
for you.
limitations on it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Or if you do it, like under your breath, you're like
Yeah.
muttering and stewing and yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not
I've been
loving
there.
fervently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's hard.
It is very hard to do.
So
Yeah.
then I'm like, sometimes people are just hard to love. But then that
Yeah.
made me think, like, could I work on being easier to love?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
Yeah.
it's like a whole circle.
Yeah. Yeah. So as we got, I'm going to let you keep going because maybe you're going to bring it up. Go ahead. Whatever you're
Okay.
going to say.
Well, my next topic is different.
All right. Well, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. You might-
So, also, just the idea of love, and that's what we should do as Christians, made me think. I hear people say that, like, Christians are so judgmental and they're the.
Mhm.
I know you've heard stuff too. Like,
Mhm. Yeah.
Christians are the worst because they judge people, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that is the opposite of what we should be doing because we
Mhm.
should just be loving
Mhm.
all the time
Mm-hmm.
till it hurts, right?
Love till it hurts. Yeah.
Even
Mhm.
when it hurts to love.
So now I'll bring up what I was going to say.
Okay.
So remember the word? There was a word in there that talked about how love
Arm?
stretches.
No.
It's
Oh,
well, there was arm. Yeah, arm is a military term.
Yeah, I
That's
thought of
used
that
in the
one.
very first word. Yeah, you need to get ready to go to battle with love. You're
Mhm.
fighting with love. Yeah, but then if later on we talked about stretching, that
Mhm.
fervent love is stretching
Yes.
love. Yeah. And really that's what the text is getting at is that really love should be something that stretches you.
mm-hmm.
There's no such thing there, or at least there shouldn't be such thing as cheap love.
Mm-hmm.
It should be something that stretches you and challenges you. And so, whenever you're trying to be hospitable and you don't really want to,
Mm-hmm.
you're okay with being stretched and you're happy about it. That's what it means is
Right.
you're stretching yourself. I think there's a lot of truth in that because love has become so cheap for a lot of people. It's just a word that gets thrown around. You have middle
Mhm.
schoolers that love each other after a week. And, I just love that TV show, or I love this, or
Right.
the word just gets thrown around, and it really,
It's misused.
yeah, and it really needs to mean more, and it should be something that stretches you. It's
Mm-hmm.
easy to love something or someone when it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's what true love is when you're stretched
Mm-hmm.
and you still are there.
I
You
like
still
that you
love.
talked about when you were sick after you got married, and that
Yeah, yeah,
kind of stretched your and Adriana's
Yeah.
love. And
yeah,
it made me think of like when I had Jackson and he was in the hospital, and it was like
yeah,
Lucian and I hadn't been married for very long. So,
yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of times, love, isn't something you see until you're in a really,
mm-hmm.
at least not tangibly. I mean, you don't see it until you're in a very difficult situation.
Yeah, until it's tested.
And I think that's why, through the centuries with wedding vows, right?
Mm-hmm.
Through better or poor, sickness and in health, richer, poor,
Right.
it's
When it's hard.
yeah, yeah. The whole point of it is that your love's going to get stretched, and you need to be there with one another through all that.
Right.
And that's true even toward people that aren't your spouse or a family member.
Mm-hmm.
God has called us to love people through thick and thin,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a hard one,
It is hard.
especially for people. I mentioned Sunday. It's really hard to do that with people that we don't think deserve that. Like, I mentioned sometimes if you see a homeless person, you might think, well, why aren't they out working? Or,
Mm-hmm.
well, Jesus didn't say, well, you should only love people if they meet your standards.
Right. Or like I've helped
yeah.
them
Yeah, or
6 times already with this.
yeah,
Why? Yeah.
yeah, or there was. I'm trying to think of another example I'd used was, yeah, they have to meet a standard. You create a standard and they don't meet it, so they only deserve it then.
Or
And-
I'll help you if you help me.
Yeah, yeah, that reciprocal type of love, which is not really love.
Right.
Yeah, it was a very challenging. This was a challenging one this week.
Yeah. And then I liked the only other thing I had is like,
Mm-hmm.
do you bless others with what you're good at?
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about your gifts and
Yeah.
what can you do?
Yeah, because a lot of times what happens is we're given a gift, like something that we're good at, a talent, but we don't use it because we want to use it for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's something we enjoy or and so we just don't share it.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to show love in that too,
Mm-hmm.
and it should stretch you. I mean, I've through the years, I've talked to people even within church ministry who I know have a talent and would be really good at something, but they're just like, no, I'm not going to do that. And I'm not saying sometimes there aren't some legitimate reasons, but sometimes I think it's just they don't want to be stretched.
Right.
And real love is being stretched.
I kind of thought
challenge you.
when we were talking about that Sunday, I was like, what's my gift?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what am I good at?
Mm-hmm.
And it made me think of the spiritual gift thing we do.
Mm-hmm.
We do that in Connect classes, right?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Plug for Connect
That's right.
classes.
This Sunday at
9:30 a.m.
9:30 a.m. Hope to see you there. Right. Enough for that commercial break.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
But yeah, finding those gifts, and
Mm-hmm.
I did it. I just need to look in the book to remember
Yeah. Yeah.
what they are. But
Mm-hmm.
like, it's not, because how do I word this? Like, do you bless others with what you're good at? It made me think like, well, I don't want to say I'm good at something like
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because then it might come across as being
boastful,
full of yourself. But no,
Yeah.
we should celebrate the fact that we all have gifts and talents that God has
Mm-hmm.
given to us, and we do it for the betterment of others. We should be glad that we have them. It all comes down to how you use it.
And you made me. I don't remember if you mentioned this Sunday or not, but I know we've talked about the church being like a body, like different parts of the body,
Yeah, I mentioned it. Sunday.
and all working together.
Yep.
Like, not everybody has the same gifts, but
Mhm.
putting all of them together and loving everyone,
it can get a lot of
that would make a
lot of things
huge
done.
difference.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like a lot of things. If everybody would step up and do their little bit, it would.
Like
do
we talked about
amazing.
being submissive. Like if everyone was submissive to
Yeah.
each other,
Exactly. Yeah.
if everyone just loved each other and helped
Mhm.
out.
And I think what we're seeing here, it's interesting you bring this up, and this is a much bigger thing. But if all of these things happen, what it is God is painting for us, and specifically in this book in First Peter, is painting for us a picture of what the world should look like.
Right.
Like we should be submissive to one another. everybody would be using their gifts for the benefit of others. Everyone would be speaking words of encouragement. You know, those were some of the other things we talked about when it comes down to stretching love. Love would that would just be the common theme, and that's what heaven looks like. It's again, we're trying to get back to Eden in a lot of ways.
Back to the garden. I've been listening
Back
to that
the
song a lot.
garden. Yeah, back to the garden. And if we did these things, we would be getting back to the garden. So
And everyone would be so much happier.
yeah, we would. But we have this little disease in us called sin, and it seems to just raise its pesky little head over and
Yeah.
over again in our lives, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've really liked this sermon. It's made me think a lot.
Good.
And I mean, most sermons, I think, what can I improve about myself? But this one has been easier to think through.
Yeah, I know. I think
like
it
it.
was. I will admit, and this is how God usually works with sermons, with me anyway. As the ones that I pull together, I'm like, I don't know if this is one of my more succinct ones. I think actually ended up being one of the ones that I think hit me a lot more than I expected.
Yeah.
And I know even my son Matthew talked to me after
was gonna
church
tell you
Sunday,
that.
and he came up to me at home. He's like, I really love that sermon today. You know, and it's not that they do tell me that from time to time, but I could tell it really affected him.
He told me when
And-
I got there before second service, he said, Shelby, today's sermon is really good. I was like, cool.
Yeah, so I think that's how God works, and that's again, He stretched me, and
Like- People need to hear this.
yeah. So He stretched all the way around. He stretched me in the message, and stretching you, and hopefully everybody else, and
Yeah.
thinking about the way we see love.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a good one. Love people.
yeah, it's a good thing.
You just wrap it up with love people.
That's right. Love them like it hurts.
Yep.
Yep.
And it will hurt sometimes.
Sometimes it does. Yep.
So what's next week?
So we've only got two more weeks.
Oh, that's right. I was thinking this was the last week, but I
Nope.
forgot. There's,
one more.
Yeah.
One more. So this week, we're going to be talking about loving or going through suffering and standing by the truth is what we're going to look at this week. I think we're going to do a funny little thing beforehand. We won't divulge
No
that.
spoilers.
That's right. No spoilers.
You just have to watch or
Yep.
come to church.
That's right. That's right. And then next week we'll wrap up talking about how love looks when you lead. 'Cause we're going
Okay.
to look at leadership. And then after that we start, unbelievably, we'll be starting our Easter series,
That's crazy.
Between Two Trees. So yeah.
Is that next? There's one in between then.
Well, yeah, there is a giving series. Duh, I should have known that. Yeah, there's a giving series. I knew that.
Yeah.
I guess I'm excited about that Easter series. But yeah, you're right. There's
That's
a
why we
three-week
have
giving series.
Office people
That's right.
who know
I
what's
guess I'm
going
just
on.
ready to get going on that Easter series. 'Cause
Yeah, I'm excited about the Easter
about it.
series
I think
too.
it's gonna be cool. So
So,
yep.
all right. Well, next week we'll talk about suffering. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about
Yep.
suffering.
We'll talk about suffering next week.
That'll be a real fun one, right?
Yay. Love to suffering. Sometimes they go together.
And we're gonna talk about that. Yeah, there you go.
Told you I know what's going on.
That's right. Yep.
So we'll see you guys next week while we talk about that.